Have you ever struggled with sleep? Maybe you find it hard to fall asleep at night, or even after a full night's rest, you wake up feeling groggy and exhausted. If so, this book is for you. Think of the human body as a highly intricate machine. Sleep is the natural maintenance and repair program that keeps it running optimally. It takes up 1/3 of our lives, nourishing the other 2/3. When sleep becomes elusive, both body and mind lose their essential buffer. The book's author, Nick Littlehales, is a sleep coach for the English Premier League's Manchester United team and a former chairman of the British Sleep Society. With over 30 years in sleep science, he delves into the foundational principles and practical strategies for effective sleep, introducing the groundbreaking R90 Sleep method, which challenges the traditional 8-hour rule and ushers in a sleep revolution. In this video, you'll discover the R90 Sleep method to reset your approach to sleep, solutions for modern sleep issues, helping you combat sleep disturbances, tips to improve sleep quality and achieve ideal physical and mental restoration. Hello everyone, and welcome to BookSpark. This channel is all about sharing insights from great books. We cover at least 3 new books every week, so don't forget to subscribe. We've organized the full script into a downloadable document. Check the link below if you'd like a copy. Now, let's dive into sleep. Last night, I went to bed around 11:45, laid there for about 15 minutes, and fell asleep at midnight. I had set the alarm for 8 a.m., but as expected, I woke up right on time at 7:30. This rhythm has become a habit for me recently, and I knew I would wake up at 7:30 because I completed 5 sleep cycles, each lasting 90 minutes, so I feel like I had a very restful sleep today. All of these changes in my sleep habits come from this very scientific little book called The Sleep. Although the book is quite simple and easy to read, it has brought significant changes to my life. Think about it. Sleep takes up over 1/3 of our lives, but I believe very few people have studied sleep or read books like this. That's really a pity. We need to manage this 1/3 of our lives well, and it can lead to big changes because we've had a lot of misunderstandings about sleep. Let me first explain how this book has helped me the most. It broke my obsession with needing to sleep 8 hours every day. Why do people sometimes experience insomnia? It's because of anxiety. You lie in bed thinking, I heard I need to sleep for 8 hours a day, but then it's already 2 a.m. and you're still not asleep, and you have to get up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. What do? The more you calculate how little time you have left to sleep, the worse you feel about yourself. The worse you feel, the more chaotic your life seems, and the more anxious and disappointed you get, leading to more sleepless tossing and turning. In fact, real sleep isn't necessarily about 8 hours every day. You can stretch it out and look at it over a week. If I get 30 to 35 sleep cycles in a week, that's a healthy rhythm. So, what is a sleep cycle? This theory is called R90, which stands for a 90-minute sleep cycle. We'll explain later why 90 minutes is a person's sleep cycle. Let me first tell you about the background of the book. The author is Nick Littlehales, a British guy who used to be an executive at the UK Sleep Association. He was someone who researched mattresses. Nick says that if you want to understand how a person should sleep, you should think back to primitive societies. Think about how our ancestors, the primitive humans, slept. When night fell, they would gather around the fire, listening to the elders tell stories. As the fire slowly dimmed, they would gradually fall asleep by the fire. Then the next morning, sunlight would wake them up, surrounded by daylight. That's how primitive people felt every day when they woke up. Nick believes that primitive people never worried about insomnia because their schedules were completely tied to the rising and setting of the sun. So, when it comes to adjusting your sleep, the 3 most important things are sunlight, temperature, and meal timing. These 3 things are our closest connections to our primitive ancestors, so understanding sunlight is much more important than understanding coffee. First, let's talk about how we perceive light. The most harmful light for humans is blue light. You might wonder, doesn't sunlight contain blue light? Yes, it does, but that's fine because sunlight's blue light is present during the day. If you have blue light in your bedroom at night though, It can prevent the production of melatonin in your body. Melatonin starts being released in your body at dusk when it gets dark outside. Once you have enough melatonin, you begin to feel sleepy and get ready for bed. But if there's blue light in your bedroom, melatonin production decreases or even stops, leading to insomnia. What causes blue light? Phone screens, TV screens, and cold light sources. All of these contain a lot of blue light. So, when you're sleeping, it's not that you can't have light in your bedroom, but it should be warm-colored light. For example, lighting a candle, which is similar to the color of a campfire, or using a small warm yellow lamp. These can all help with sleep. Of course, complete darkness is best, but if you need light, use warm-colored light or candles. They're very effective. Cold light sources can affect your body, so you have to be cautious about blue light. Anything closer to the color of a campfire will help you sleep better. Understanding your daily biological rhythm is also important. Nick has a chart, but this isn't just for sleep experts. Everyone knows about basic circadian rhythms. Let's take a look, starting at 6 a.m. Around 6:30, our blood pressure starts to rise, preparing us for the day's activities. Around 7 a.m., melatonin production stops, and by 9 a.m., testosterone starts to be released. Between 9:30 and 10 in the morning, we are at our most alert. In the afternoon, around 2 p.m., our coordination is at its peak. At 3:30 p.m., our reaction time is at its fastest. I remember back in college, I used to exercise between 3:30 and 4 am because that's when our reaction speed is at its best. At 5:00 p.m., our cardiovascular function is strongest and muscle strength is at its peak, which is why many experts recommend exercising in the late afternoon when your muscles are the strongest. At 6:30 p.m., blood pressure reaches its highest point. At around 7 p.m., your body temperature reaches its highest point. By 9 p.m., melatonin starts to be released, signaling your body to prepare for sleep. Once you're asleep, 2 a.m. is typically when your sleep is at its deepest, and by around 4 a.m., your body temperature is at its lowest. This is the basic rhythm of the human body. So based on this circadian rhythm, we have some recommendations. For example, don't rush too much in the morning. If you rush out of bed, your body hasn't fully adjusted yet. Especially since during sleep, your digestive system slows down almost to a halt. Many people don't even have time to have a proper bowel movement before rushing out the door, which can put unnecessary stress on your body for the rest of the day. That's why it's better to take your time in the morning, have breakfast, clear out the waste that's been sitting in your system overnight, and then head out. It's also not recommended to exercise in the evening, and when you go to bed, make sure to stay away from phones, computers, and TVs because they can interfere with melatonin production. People generally fall into 3 categories when it comes to sleep rhythms, and not everyone follows the same pattern. There are 2 major groups, early risers and late risers. This might even be tied to the different tribes we belong to in primitive societies. Some people are naturally good at waking up early. For example, my mom is a typical early riser. She's always up by 5 a.m. without fail. Even among young people, there are those who wake up early and not all of them like to sleep in. These are the early risers. On the other hand, late risers prefer to sleep in as long as possible, until 8, 9, or even 10 a.m. They feel the later they wake up, the better. But in reality, the best wake-up time for early risers and late risers only differs by a couple of hours. This is just one of the differences between people. There's also a third group, those in the middle. Sometimes they wake up early, sometimes they sleep in. A lot of late risers rely heavily on caffeine to adjust themselves. They can't seem to fully wake up, so they immediately go for a strong cup of coffee. We should know a bit about caffeine. Its half-life is around 6 hours. So if you drink coffee within 6 hours of going to bed, it generally won't affect your sleep. But ideally, you shouldn't be drinking coffee at night because it can mess with your sleep later. In fact, sunlight is much more effective at waking you up in the morning than coffee. Lately, I've been waking up at 7:30 a.m., and the first thing I do is open the curtains. As soon as I let in the light, I instantly feel more awake and get out of bed right away. If you find yourself still groggy when you get to work and struggling to stay awake, the author suggests that late risers should try to get a desk near a window. You can tell your boss, "I get drowsy in the morning, so can I have a spot near the window where it's brighter?" There are also lamps that simulate daylight, and you can put one on your desk to help keep you awake. It's not as easy to doze off when it's bright. This is why it's important to understand your body's rhythm first. Now, let's talk about a topic I'm especially passionate about: the concept of sleep cycles. Each night's sleep consists of 4 stages, though many people don't know this. The first stage is called non-REM, non-rapid eye movement, sleep. Have you ever felt like you were falling into a pit while sleeping and suddenly jerked awake? That's an example of non-REM sleep, the first stage. We can think of it as dozing off. It's like when you're lying on the couch watching TV, holding the remote, and then suddenly it slips from your hand and falls to the floor. That's the first stage of non-REM sleep when you haven't yet entered deep sleep. The author compares the process of falling asleep to walking down a staircase, as though you're descending into a deep, dark basement. The first stage is like preparing to go down the stairs, and then there's the second stage of non-REM sleep. At this point, you're really asleep, but it's still easy to wake you up. Have you ever fallen asleep and then heard your child crying, waking you up instantly? That shows you were in a light sleep stage, where you're halfway down the stairs, but can easily be called back up. During this stage, people are the most sensitive and easily disturbed. But if you're lucky enough to move past stage 2 and reach stages 3 and 4, you enter REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, where your eyes start moving rapidly beneath your eyelids, signaling deep sleep. In this stage, it's much harder to wake someone up. You'd need to shake them vigorously or call their name loudly for them to wake up suddenly. At this point, small noises or a burglar sneaking in wouldn't easily rouse you because you're in a deep sleep. During deep sleep, the amount of growth hormone our bodies release starts to increase, which is when we say the body begins to repair itself. Did you know that a scientific study has shown that if someone doesn't sleep well at night, their brain will get dumber? Do you know why? Because when you spend more time in deep sleep, your brain produces a lot of cleansing fluid that clears out the waste left behind from the day. This helps your brain reset, allowing it to function as good as new the next morning. If you consistently don't sleep well, the waste in your brain will accumulate, making you feel more and more sluggish. That's why it's important to get enough deep sleep. But deep sleep isn't the best part. It's the final stage, called REM sleep, rapid eye movement. That's most beneficial. A key feature of REM sleep is dreaming. And although we dream a lot every night, the reason we don't remember most of them is because we only recall the last dream in the final stage of the last sleep cycle. The dreams from earlier sleep cycles are forgotten. So, the last 10 to 20 minutes of REM sleep is usually the only dream you remember. Entering the dreaming stage means you've reached the deepest level of sleep. At this point, your brain waves change significantly, and during REM sleep, this can be observed by the rapid movement of your eyes. This is the stage we aim for as the deepest, most restorative sleep. The 4 stages of sleep make up a cycle that lasts about 90 minutes. At the end of each cycle, you wake up briefly, though you probably don't remember it, and then begin the next cycle. That's why sometimes you might find yourself suddenly awake in the middle of the night. This often happens between sleep cycles. So, if I go to bed at midnight and wake up at 7:30 in the morning, that's perfectly normal, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. Sleep cycles help release our guilt and anxiety about sleep. In the past, we believed that we had to sleep for 8 hours every night, and if we couldn't, it made us anxious. But Nick, likely referring to a sleep researcher or expert, tells us we don't need to feel so guilty. Why? Because humans are evolving. Since the 19th century, we haven't lived like our ancestors did, thanks to electricity. We now spend much more time under artificial light, and as a result, our bodies are adapting. As long as you aim for 35 sleep cycles in a week, you're doing well. If tonight you manage 5 cycles, but tomorrow only 4, that's still fine. For example, let's say you get home late one night at 12:30 a.m. and have a meeting the next morning, meaning you have to wake up by 7 or 7:30. What should you do? The old way of thinking would be to rush to bed to get as much sleep as possible, right? You might even skip washing your face to save time. But that's wrong. If you don't complete a full sleep cycle, waking up will feel terrible. If you go to sleep at 1 a.m. and have to wake up at 7:30, you're going to feel awful because you're not waking at the end of a complete sleep cycle. Instead, it's better to sleep in 90-minute intervals, even if it means sacrificing a bit of total sleep time. You'll feel much better waking at the end of a cycle. So, if you need to wake at 7:30, but you realize you won't be able to complete 5 cycles, 4 is still good. That's 6 hours of sleep. If it's 12:30 a.m., take your time to wind down and aim to sleep at 1 a.m., giving yourself a little extra time to doze off. This way, you'll finish 4 complete sleep cycles. Even in situations where you only manage 3 cycles due to a party or celebration, that's okay. You can always make up for it the next day with 6 cycles, or take a nap in the afternoon to balance it out. There's no need to feel guilty, and that's one of the greatest insights sleep cycles provide. Now, when I wake up at the end of a cycle, I feel refreshed and energized. So, I recommend everyone try to understand their own sleep cycles and give it a shot. Some people say, I work so hard from Monday to Friday, always rushing to catch the train or bus to work. I can't get enough sleep, so can I sleep in on the weekends? Nick says it's best not to sleep in. Why? Because when you sleep in on the weekend, it throws off your body's internal clock. You end up wanting to sleep longer during those extra hours, but that time is ineffective and does nothing to improve the quality of your sleep. So, what does he recommend for the weekend? If you normally wake up at 7 or 7:30 a.m., try to stick to that schedule, even on weekends. Once you understand your sleep cycles, it's best to wake up at the same time every day rather than adjusting your wake-up time based on your plans. For example, don't wake up at 8 a.m. just because your first meeting isn't until 9 a.m. Stick to a consistent wake-up time. But what if you want to relax on the weekend? You can still enjoy it. On the weekend, when you wake up at 7 a.m., get out of bed, open the curtains, walk around, and make sure you're fully awake. Then, feel free to get back in bed, watch TV, eat popcorn, whatever makes you happy. The key is that you've kept your body's rhythm intact. That's his advice for enjoying sleep on weekends. Here's something important to understand. In the earlier sleep cycles of the night, deep sleep makes up a larger portion because your body wants you to enter deep sleep as quickly as possible. For example, if you go to bed at 10:30 p.m., your first and second sleep cycles will have more deep sleep. In the later cycles, REM sleep takes up a bigger portion. But if you don't get enough sleep, your brain will insert REM sleep into the earlier cycles. This shows just how important REM sleep is. If you're severely sleep deprived, you might start dreaming as soon as you fall asleep. This is why people often say, I started dreaming the moment I fell asleep. That's because REM sleep was pushed forward. Trying to make up for lost sleep by going to bed early or sleeping in late is actually a waste of time, and this is one reason why. Lost sleep can't be made up. However, our bodies are very good at compensating. So, trust your body's ability to regulate itself instead of counting the time you spend half awake or lying in bed as quality sleep. That time doesn't count. Our bodies don't really benefit from that low-quality sleep. Now that we've covered that, let's talk about daily rhythms. As mentioned earlier, don't rush out the door with a piece of toast in your mouth right after waking up. That's terrible for your body. Nick suggests you allow at least 90 minutes in the morning to prepare for your day. It sounds extravagant, right? Most people barely spend 30 minutes between waking up and leaving the house, but those 90 minutes can include your commute. If your commute takes 30 minutes, then give yourself an hour at home to get ready. For example, if I need to leave at 8 a.m., I make sure to wake up at 7 a.m., giving myself a full hour. So, what do you do with that hour? First, open the curtains and let the sunlight in. Don't reach for your phone immediately after waking up. I know many people like to check their phones the moment they open their eyes, but grabbing your phone right when you wake up can negatively impact your mood for the day. Your phone will likely have work messages, information, and various notifications. What if you see something frustrating? Especially when you've just woken up, you might respond impulsively, setting a bad tone for the rest of the day. Plus, exposing yourself to electronics too early can disrupt your body's natural recovery. Instead, try some light exercise. You don't need to break a sweat, just move around to wake yourself up. Then, wash your face, brush your teeth, and head out the door. On your way to work, your brain will be ready to kick into high gear. This is the ideal time to absorb new information. Listen to some news or a podcast, for example. This book offers great advice on how to get your brain into work mode. Breakfast is also very important. We've all heard the saying, eat breakfast like a king, but don't overdo it. Focus on a balance of protein, carbs, and fats. After a good breakfast, go to the bathroom and empty your bowels. Your large intestine stops working during sleep, so when you wake up, it's time to clear it out. What a great start to the day, right? Imagine this. Sunlight streaming in, light exercise, a nice breakfast, a clean body, and you're ready for work. How wonderful. Just as you allow 90 minutes to prepare in the morning, you should also reserve 90 minutes to wind down before bed. I know this might be harder for many people. Some of you might be thinking, I can't do that. I scroll on my phone until it dies, then I finally fall asleep. You don't need to push yourself that hard. There's no need for that. Give yourself 90 minutes before bed to slow down. This doesn't mean you can't do anything. It just means you should start dimming the lights, for instance. When setting up your home, try to avoid using bright fluorescent lights in the bedroom. Fluorescent lights are fine for living rooms and workspaces, but they don't belong in the bedroom, or even the bathroom. Why? Because when you turn on bright lights to wash your face or brush your teeth, it can wake you up more, making it harder to fall asleep afterward. Have you ever noticed that some people are more awake after washing their face at night? That's because the lighting is too harsh. Instead, use warmer, softer lighting in your bathroom and perhaps play some calming music to slow down your pace. Don't watch TV in bed. Blue light from screens will disrupt the production of melatonin, which can prevent you from falling asleep. Lastly, avoid eating within 3 hours of going to bed. If your stomach is full, it will be harder to sleep because your digestive system is still working. Even if you fall asleep, you might wake up uncomfortable because your stomach is bloated. So, within the 3 hours before you go to sleep, if you plan to go to bed at 11 p.m., the latest you should have dinner is 8 p.m. You can have a little water before bed, but don't drink too much, because too much water will wake you up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, interrupting your sleep cycle. So, it's best to avoid drinking too much water before bed. There are a few key things to keep in mind when it comes to the bedroom. First, the temperature should be low enough. Don't make your bedroom too warm because in ancient times, people slept in the cold. They went to bed after the fire died down, and it got colder as the night went on. So, lowering the temperature in the bedroom helps you fall asleep more easily. If the bedroom is kept at 60 to 64 degree key, you can enjoy the comforting feeling of a warm body slipping into a cool bed after a hot shower. It's incredibly relaxing. Another recommendation is not to read in bed, although I personally love reading in bed and haven't changed this habit. I still need to read a little before sleeping, but I suggest reading something challenging. For example, reading philosophy instead of a novel will help you fall asleep faster. Novels might excite you and make it harder to sleep, while philosophical texts will likely put you to sleep after a couple of pages. My advice differs from Nick's. You can either follow his suggestion to avoid reading in bed, or take my advice and pick something dense. Another important tip is to put away electronic devices. Apple did a shocking study. Do you know how many times the average person unlocks their phone each day? A staggering 80 times. That means your life is interrupted over 80 times a day by checking your phone. Even if there's nothing important, people still feel the need to check. Personally, I often leave my phone behind. In fact, my phone isn't even near me while I'm filming this. I leave it downstairs when I sleep so it doesn't come to bed with me. This way, you can fully detach from it. Once I'm upstairs, there's no phone, just me in the bedroom. I can shower, sleep, or use the bathroom, but I won't be checking my phone. Disconnecting from your phone is crucial for better sleep, so try to minimize your use of electronic devices before bed. That being said, there is one exception: sleep aid apps. What are sleep aid apps? They are apps designed to help you sleep, playing calming music, reading you poetry, or even telling you a bedtime story. These are good tools for improving sleep quality. Before bed, you can also do some light exercise, but nothing too intense. Intense exercise will make you too energized. Just do some gentle stretches or maybe a couple of push-ups or yoga poses, then go to bed. The author also offers a tip for reducing the time spent tossing and turning in bed, something called downloading your day. What does this mean? As you prepare for bed, with the lights dimmed and your teeth brushed, take out a piece of paper or a notebook and jot down what you accomplished today. What was your biggest takeaway? What tasks didn't you complete? Write down when you plan to take care of those unfinished tasks. The key is not to resolve these issues before bed, but to schedule a time to handle them. This act of downloading your day helps to put it to rest. That way, you can lie in bed with a clear mind, free of the day's burdens. It's a bit like the old habit of keeping a journal, right? I recommend using pen and paper, not an electronic device. Writing by hand is great for the brain. It's almost an art form to end the day by physically writing out your thoughts. How beautiful is that? Take the time to improve your handwriting, wrap up your day with this final work of art, and then go to sleep. Nick highly recommends one last bedtime habit: checking your doors and windows. Why? It's about safety. If you're lying in bed wondering, did I lock the door? Or, where's that noise coming from? You won't be able to sleep. So, do a quick check before bed to make sure everything is secure. When it comes to breathing at night, try to breathe through your nose. Nose breathing has many benefits. The nasal passages have structures that filter and humidify the air before it enters your body, making it cleaner and easier to breathe. Mouth breathing, on the other hand, can lead to snoring and disrupt your sleep. In severe cases, snoring can cause sleep apnea, where breathing stops for more than 3 minutes during the night. Some people snore so loudly that they stop breathing for several minutes at a time. What if you try to breathe through your nose but find it unnatural and wake up? There are now nasal strips that can help keep your airways open. Want to know if you were breathing through your nose or mouth while sleeping? It's simple. If you wake up with a dry mouth and throat, you were probably mouth breathing. But if your mouth feels moist, you likely breathe through your nose. Now, if you've been super busy lately and can only manage 3 to 4 sleep cycles each night, daytime napping becomes really important. The best time to nap is between 1 and 3 p.m., when your body's circadian rhythm is most conducive to sleep. Ideally, nap for a full sleep cycle. If that's not possible, even 30 minutes can help. During that time, your body will quickly adjust and give you a mini sleep cycle. Many professions, like astronauts, pilots, and athletes, require naps because they are essential for recharging energy levels. But many of us worry about something, right? When you're at work, even if you have a place to nap, you wake up after 30 or 40 minutes feeling groggy, unrefreshed, and looking disheveled, which can be a problem if you have important afternoon meetings. Well, the author has a great trick. Drink a cup of coffee before your nap. Coffee takes about 30 minutes to kick in, so after you drink it, it won't affect your nap. You can sleep for 30 minutes, and just as you're waking up, the caffeine will start to work, instantly helping you feel more alert. How brilliant is that? Just remember, don't drink a latte. Why not? Because lattes act immediately, making you too energized to nap. That's the key to napping. If you miss your midday nap, the evening is another great time for a quick doze. As we get older, especially in our 40s and 50s, we often feel sleepy around dusk. It's fine to take a short nap then. Just let yourself doze off for a bit. Don't wake yourself up. It's actually quite beneficial. Throughout the day, it's also important to take a break every 90 minutes. It's like how class periods are typically 90 minutes long. I never knew why, but most teachers seem to follow this rhythm. After 90 minutes, you should take a short break, have a cup of tea, stretch your legs, or chat with someone. Then you can get back to work feeling much more refreshed. This same principle applies to both naps and evening rest. Next, let's talk about your bed. What's the best sleep position, and what kind of mattress should you choose? We all know there are 3 main sleep positions: on your back, on your side, or on your stomach. Sleeping on your back can cause snoring and sleep apnea, so it's not recommended. Sleeping on your stomach puts too much pressure on your neck and spine, so that's also not ideal. The best position is sleeping on your side. You might have heard that sleeping on your right side is better, but it's actually better to sleep on the side opposite your dominant hand. If you're right-handed, sleep on your left side. If you're left-handed, sleep on your right side. Why? Your dominant hand gives you a sense of security. When your strong hand is free, it's ready to protect you, which makes you feel safer. The author shared a story about once missing his train at a station and deciding not to bother finding a nearby hotel. Instead, he just slept at the station. A true sleeper can sleep anywhere, even at a train station. So he found a secluded spot, curled up on his side with his left, dominant hand protecting his valuables, and used a bag as a pillow. He slept comfortably despite being at the station. The point is, you can sleep well anywhere if you understand the rules of good sleep. As for mattresses, more expensive doesn't always mean better. Nowadays, some mattresses can cost tens of thousands of dollars, which is excessive. The author, who used to sell mattresses, advises not to fall for the marketing hype. The most important thing is to try the mattress before you buy it. How do you know if a mattress is good? Here's a tip. Go mattress shopping with a friend. Remove all the covers from the mattress. Lie on your side, bend your knees naturally, and curve your body slightly, like you're in the fetal position, though not as curled up. Cross your arms over your chest and have your friend take a photo from behind. Check if your spine, from your head to your hips, is in a straight line. If it is, that's a good mattress. Also, check the gap between your head and the mattress. If your head is too high or too low, the mattress is either too soft or too firm. A good mattress will keep your head and body aligned in a straight line. If you achieve this, you won't even need a pillow. People use pillows more out of habit. However, in most cases, the mattress might be a little too firm, so a thin pillow is fine to keep your head in line with your spine. There's no need to pile lots of pillows on your bed. Thick pillows can strain your neck and cause poor sleep. Ideally, a thin pillow is best for proper neck alignment. Mattresses should be replaced every 10 years because they collect dust mites over time. Dust mites feed on dead skin cells, and while they don't bite, their waste can trigger allergic reactions, causing rashes or other skin irritations. That's why, even if the mattress is still usable, it's a good idea to replace it every 10 years. You don't need the most expensive one. Just pick the one that feels best when you lie down. As for bedding, choose materials that aren't likely to cause allergies. Natural materials like cotton or silk are the best options. Synthetic materials can irritate the skin and make it harder to sleep. That's how to create the best sleep environment. Do you know what Nick does when leading his team? He requires every team member to carry a small, portable mattress that he personally selected, made of rubber. It's just a small mat they carry with them wherever they go. When they arrive at a new location, other teams are always curious and come to see what Manchester United is doing, bringing their own beds. People find it strange, but they're envious when they see how quickly the Manchester United players can fall asleep. Nick customizes the hotel beds because hotel mattresses are often too soft or too firm and aren't suitable for his athletes. So, they roll out their small mats, which are thin but provide just the right level of comfort. This is something only someone who truly understands sleep and mattresses would do. When it comes to the bedroom setup, simplicity is best. Avoid making it overly complicated or fancy. The room should be as dark as possible, which means using curtains with very low light transmission. You can measure this. Every curtain comes with a light transmission rating. When you pull the curtains closed, it should make the room completely dark. This is ideal. The temperature should be between 64 degrees to 16 to 18 degrees, and the room should be as quiet as possible. Oddly enough, Someone like Wayne Rooney, for instance, needs noise to sleep. If it's too quiet, he can't sleep, probably due to his childhood environment. So, they recorded white noise specifically for him to help him fall asleep. This just goes to show how individual sleep preferences can be. Some people can't sleep in total silence, but of course the noise shouldn't be too loud. It's all about what works for you. Ensuring your bedroom feels safe is also important. Another critical aspect of the bedroom is your partner. How do you manage sleeping arrangements? The author suggests buying the largest bed you can afford, assuming your home is big enough. The larger the bed, the more space both partners will have. Some double beds even have a gap in the middle, allowing each person to have their own space without disturbing the other. If one partner is left-handed and the other is right-handed, the best setup is to sleep back-to-back, so you don't interfere with each other. If both partners are right-handed or both are left-handed, one will need to adjust, or you can come to an agreement on which way to sleep. Back-to-back sleeping is ideal because it minimizes disturbances. One of the biggest causes of sleep disorders is having someone next to you with a different sleep rhythm. If your partner suddenly kicks you in the middle of the night or accidentally hits you, it can startle you awake. So, it's important for both partners to develop good sleep habits to create a comfortable sleep environment for each other. We are part of each other's sleep environment. As for more severe sleep problems, some people ask, "Fan, you're giving advice for regular sleepers, but what about those of us with serious insomnia? I can't fall asleep without sleeping pills. What should I do?" The author strongly advises against using sleeping pills because studies show that people who take them have a significantly higher risk of sudden death than those who don't. Additionally, sleeping pills only help you fall asleep about 22 minutes faster than you would naturally. It's not as dramatic as you might think. Instead of relying on sleeping pills, try using the methods in the book. Slow down your evening routine, avoid phones and TVs before bed, do some light exercise, drink a bit of water, and head to bed. If you still can't sleep, don't force it. Get up, read a book, or do some work, and only return to bed when you feel tired enough to sleep through a full sleep cycle. Don't be too hard on yourself. Over-anxiety will only make things worse. The key is to establish a healthy circadian rhythm. This is why Nick emphasizes going to bed and waking up at consistent times. A well-regulated body clock means you won't even need an alarm. For example, even though I set my alarm for 8 a.m. just in case, I typically wake up at 7:30 a.m. on my own. That's the benefit of having your sleep cycles well adjusted. As long as you get enough full sleep cycles, there's no need to stress too much. Instead of relying on sleeping pills, you can try meditation. Meditation can sometimes be just as effective as sleep. So if you can't sleep, try sitting quietly and practicing mindful breathing. This is a great way to reset. It's also important to adjust your lifestyle to reduce intake of stimulants like caffeine. Pay attention to the amount of caffeine in your drinks. Every product lists its caffeine content. The book provides more details on managing caffeine consumption. Now, for those who work night shifts or deal with jet lag, that's much harder to manage. If you work nights, you'll need to adjust your body clock to be more alert at night and sleep during the day. The main advice is to make your bedroom as dark as possible when you sleep during the day. And when you come home after a night shift, don't go straight to bed. This will cause you to miss out on important family time. Instead, have breakfast with your family, maybe drop the kids off at school, then go home, close the curtains, and sleep. It's a very comforting approach. As for jet lag, the basic rule is that for every hour of time difference, it takes about a day to adjust. So, if you travel to New York with a 12-hour time difference, it might take a week or two to fully recover, and that's completely normal. In my own experience, because I've been traveling internationally more often lately, I've noticed that I'm much better at adjusting to time zones. I can fly from the US to China and jump straight into work without feeling jet-lagged. I realized that the reason I'm able to adjust so well is because of the sleep cycle methods I learned from this book. I've become confident in my ability to manage sleep. For instance, when I fly from the US to China and it's daytime in China, I'll immediately get into the local rhythm and keep going. without thinking about what time it is back in the US. This mindset helps me adjust quickly, especially for someone like me who doesn't drink much coffee. When I do have it in these situations, it works wonders. The occasional use of caffeine can be incredibly effective. If you rely on caffeine every day, though, your body becomes less sensitive to it. So, while this book may seem simple, it has the potential to make a huge difference in your life. Today, we've used this space to help solve 1/3 of your life: sleep. If you found this helpful and want to learn more about sleep, I recommend you read the book Sleep. Hopefully, after hearing this, you'll sleep better, and better sleep will lead to a higher quality of life, making you love life even more. If you really want to achieve good sleep, you need self-discipline. And self-discipline, as we've discussed many times before, comes from a healthy level of self-respect. In a few days, we'll talk about a new book called The Right Kind of Self-Esteem. It explores how improving self-esteem helps with self-discipline, and once you have self-discipline, you can achieve better sleep. Bookspark hopes to make everyone's life better, with each book bringing a meaningful change. Thank you all, and see you in the next video.